podcast, killing everybody, taking dog tags. Dog, this is awesome. It's Optimus Prime and your quadrant and talking to you. Got that? I was in a mind when I crafted this. The dungeon master's wrath with the dash is sick. I dash like Sonic Mad, not a pacifist, but pacifist the tracks when I'm rapping, kids. We the last of us, the master race. Take him with a master hand, it's cancerous. I hit him with the master sword, and sure I make a nice sword, but I wonder how 4 guys make a Triforce.
All praise be to Helix. The Trinity Force podcast is live.
Yay!
I still can't believe.
Wait,
you
what?
just said it open like that.
All praise to the Helix fossil. Episode
Helix
138.
He licks lollipops. And who's he?
All right, Dad.
Dad Claude.
Dad Claude.
Dad Claude.
You guys are listening to episode number 138 of the Trinity Force podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and as always, I am here to host this glorious podcast brought upon us by the Lord and Savior Abba Jesus. I am joined by a great group of guys who are followers of the Dome. Dom, DeClaude, and Chiro with us.
Howdy. What's the dome, by the way?
I hate you. I just, there's nothing about you I like anymore. I don't even want to do this. Ugh.
God, I'm so good at this hosting thing.
Amazing.
So I have asked the Helix fossil, what is the best way to go about starting? I can't stop. I can't fucking stop. And
Okay, Miley.
Yep.
the Helix fossil has let us all know that there is a store.trinityforcepodcast.com where you can find all of your amazing Trinity Force podcast swag. Yep, I said swag. I want to make a shirt that says all praise the Helix fossil, and it's going to be a Trinity. It's going to be like the Helix with Trinity
Have
Force
fun
podcast
getting
around it.
fucking sued. Like, ugh.
You guys, for $24 shipped, you guys can get yourself a t-shirt that says Trinity Force Podcast on it. Of course, there is the podcast to your horse, thanks to DeClaude and Skyen. And his awful puns. That's DeClaude's awful puns, not Skyen's, because Skyen's great and DeClaude's
Skyen's
awful.
amazing artwork.
A
We need
handsome
another
man.
one, by the way.
Yeah, what's the next one?
The same shirt, but in women's. Do we have that on there yet?
No, because I'm awful and I keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah, you're terrible. Nobody likes you.
Well, we should consult the
glad we're
Helix
all in
fossil
agreement.
before this. And all right, guys. Don't forget to go check us out on iTunes. This is how you host a podcast. Everybody get out your pen and paper and start taking notes. So I'm going to show you how to move the conversation away from getting dogged on by your co-hosts.
Do you have a pen available this time? In case someone wants to
No,
hand
can
you
you
one?
hand me one, though?
No, I don't have one.
Where's Luke when you need him?
Probably working.
Oh, what a
I can
bum.
hand you a handgun or a flashlight.
I'll take both. Do you have duct
And you
tape?
beer.
I would rather have the beer.
Yeah, I don't have a beer.
All right, guys. Don't forget to go rate us on iTunes and Stitcher. We are out there. We are at 189 reviews on iTunes. I'd like to hit 200 before the end of the month. So you guys have, 6 days left to do that?
No.
Get us there. Or is it 4 days? Yeah, it's 4 days. I forgot February's 28 days.
God,
Yep.
that's so depressing. My rent's due so much sooner than I thought it was. Oh.
That's all right, guys. Don't forget to go rate us. But I'd like to get to 200 by the 28th, but I understand if you need those extra couple days to do it, so I'll give you till March 2nd. Other than that, don't forget to go check out the LCS podcast at lcs.trinityforcepodcast.com. I did guest star on it yesterday. They go live every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this channel that's stream.trinityforcepodcast.com. Everything you need is .trinityforcepodcast.com. How convenient is that?
So easy. Easy to remember.
Right. You just put something- Store,
LCS.
stream, LCS, Oz.
Except for...
Website.
It could be
Oh,
more
yeah,
convenient.
you're right.
Well, the hub
Except
is coming.
for surrender at
I'm just saying.
20.net. .trinityforcepodcast.com would be nice.
That might
You know.
come
Could
one
be-
of these days.
It could be more convenient. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
The hub is coming.
Just-
Yep.
The hub is coming.
Eventually. Eventually.
After 3 days of death, he will rise, and the hub will come forth and show us all the way to the other podcast. All right, I'm done with that for the night. I've
Yeah, that's
ran
enough.
that into the ground.
Yeah.
That has lasted way
Dead
too long.
horse.
The
Dead
Ozelo podcast goes out every Thursday. They've actually been releasing on Sundays for some reason, but they're supposed to release on Thursdays, so Thursdays or Sundays will be released. That's 4 hours of podcast a week. Don't forget to go check that out. And I have a very special announcement that the podcast is sponsored once again by Audible. So if you guys would like to go get an Audible trial, you can go to audibletrial.com. T-Force podcast. You get a 30-day free trial. After that, of course, you have to pay. So if you do sign up, make sure you watch your credit card and all that, because we've had some people, talk about it. But yes, audibletrial.com/T-Force podcast. Go get your free audio book. It's a 30-day free trial of that. You get one audio book when you sign up. So go ahead and support the podcast.
Any audio book?
I believe it's any audio book.
Nice.
You can get like I'm pretty sure you can get Game of Thrones and what. It depends. Some of the audiobooks are like 2 credits or 3 credits because they're super long. But for the most part, you get you get whatever you need to do.
Didn't Nick Offerman read his own biography for the audiobook?
Is that what
On Audible?
That's awesome.
Yeah, if that's true, that's awesome because he's the shit. But
Yeah,
I
would
can't.
do that.
That's wild speculation. There is no truth to that claim.
No free
Sorry.
marketing
Now
for
you're
him.
just making up rumors, Dom. What the hell?
Well, now I want to know. Like, I thought I heard that, but it could have been someone else.
Well, it's not about Trinity Force, and we're not happy because of that. Who's Nick Offerman? It is not Ponophobia. No one cares.
Wow.
Well put.
I'm in a saucy mood tonight, guys. This is going to be a fun podcast.
You're saucy.
I was screaming in the T-Force chat for this. Oh, by the way, if you are on EU West, there is a T-Force chat. Apparently, there's only like 3 to 10 people sitting in that. So if you listen to this and you play in EU West, do join T-Force in-game. They really want to get a community going, and since none of us are over there, it's hard for us to be in that chat. But I'd really like for more people to write us and say, yeah, the community's growing. The NA channel, there's a lot of people that sit in there, a lot of people that talk all the time. They talk during the LCS. They play games together. There's been ranked 5 teams formed, and I want to see the same thing happen in the US. So please join channel T-Force on EU West and help grow that community. And, you can email us if you really want to help out, because we need somebody over on that side, and, we'll chit-chat. So with that said, let's move into some Trinity Force podcast discussion, or League of Legends discussion. I think the big thing we're going to talk about this week, and we're going to start this off. Dom, did you write this title for this? Because I think you were really excited about the way this wrote.
I did write that. It just amuses me, but I did write that.
Dom is going to smile as it says, we're going to talk about Champion Select, counter-picking and you, the deep and dirty game before the game.
Nice.
I can just
I love that.
hear Dom grinning as he types that out.
I could see Dom grinning as he thought.
I don't know. It didn't even take long. It was like, all right, champion.
nice.
I got the champions like counter picking and you came right away, and then it was like, what's the game? Oh, here we got it.
So as you guys know, there is, when you're in any kind of ranked 5s or even solo queue, there is a strategy to picks and bans. I don't know if you guys have noticed when it comes to the LCS, but Kassadin has been banned on blue side sometimes. And there is a strategy to the reason he's being banned. There's a strategy to what support champions you want to get, or what overpowered champion you want to get right now, whether it be Mundo, Shyvana, Leona, Annie, Thresh, whatever it may be from there. So we're going to discuss that. I'm going to leave that open on the board for one of you guys to take that, because I have my thoughts, but I want to make sure I'm not overlapping with anybody else.
Yeah, I totally agree, because the a lot of games are, you say it's over in Champ Select, and that's pretty much the case unless you can pull out a miracle, or if the opposing enemy team just doesn't know how to play those champions to the way that they should be played. So I'm not sure about in solo queue if there's as much of a strategy as in LCS or ranked 5s when you know your enemy team, obviously, because you know who you're trying to ban away from the strong players. But in solo queue, you just ban away the champions that you don't like to deal with or that are overpowered, like Kassadin. Either you have him or you don't, because he just wrecks face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the reality is there's always going to be a Kassadin. It was Blitzcrank for a long time. It was a Kali for a stretch. It was Morgana for a while there. So, it's Kassadin now. Yeah, I mean, it's Kassadin now. It's going to be somebody else in the that's just the way the game is always going to be.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it's the hard thing is giving into peer pressure. People saying, "Oh, play this one if you're going to go this role. Play this guy," and then you're like, all right, I'll play him because he sounds OP, but I don't know how to play him. You're probably going to get your ass kicked. So
I had a game like
play
that today.
a champion you're comfortable with,
I
regardless of what's open.
Love when people are like, oh, Yasuo's not picked. Never played him. Going to pick him up and go mid.
Yeah.
And then they have no idea how to play him and just get wrecked.
Yeah.
And like, what the hell? This champion's supposed to be overpowered. Well, it's only overpowered if you know how to make them overpowered.
You have to make it 6.
Yep.
When in doubt, play your most comfortable champion. If the timer's ticking, I don't know who to pick. Pick your most comfortable champion.
And that being said, with the counterpicking thing, I believe that counterpicking in itself is kind of a bad word for this. It's more or less like there are champions that have much harder matchups against other champions. But at least for solo queue, if you know how to play a champion really well, and again, if you know how to play against a person or you know how to play into a hard matchup, it's not necessarily a counter pick. You can kind of make up for that.
We've talked about it in the past where there are very few hard counters in this game. I think the only one that comes to mind is Fiddlesticks into Vladimir. He can drain through the pool of Vladimir, and that's like a super hard counter. I can't really think of any other ones that just completely shut down the enemy as hard as Fiddle does into Vlad. So picking to counter pick is hard to talk about.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I've never seen that matchup played. So every time someone tells me Fiddlesticks is a counter to Vlad, I'm like, wait, what? Why? That doesn't make any sense. But then when you find out, oh yeah, he can drain through the pool. Oh, now it makes perfect sense.
Right.
That used to be much more common when people laned Fiddle all the time, though. And this was like 2 years ago. But you don't see that nearly as much.
Well, when he couldn't jungle because the jungle was too powerful for him to go through type of thing. But I want to talk about like the Kassadin pick, for example. He's at a 96% ban rate, if I remember correctly. It might be 97. And people are going to try to pick him because he's powerful. Last night when I was playing ranked 5s, we happened to get Kassadin, and I tweeted, and I said, we got Kassadin, but how do we play him? Tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic. And we did fine. We won the game. Kassadin went very positive, and because the player that played him, freaking nobody understood how to play Kassadin. So, but when a lot of these champions start having that high of a ban rate, and this especially happened with Blitzcrank and Morgana and a Mumu, for example, you forget how to play that champion. So when you're playing in like probably silver and bronze, I would almost say that Kassadin might not be ban worthy. That's a toss-up. I don't actually know how it is. I'm not going to tell people not to ban it because he's banned for a reason. But maybe because of the high ban rate, he might not be worth it anymore.
It's funny too because there are sometimes I actually don't mind if a Kassadin pick goes through if somebody on my team knows how to play Riven really, really well. Because doing rank 5s in the past, I know a bunch of really good Riven players who've gotten some tips from like Yazuki, who used to be really well known for his Riven play, and they would just crush any Kassadin they went in the lane with because they can just shove him completely out all the way through 6, and they put him so far behind that it takes him to level 11 just to start doing anything.
Yeah,
but I mean, just because people like Kassadin are overpowered doesn't mean you can't deal with them if you plan ahead.
Yeah, you do have to. You have to deal with him though. That's the thing. Kind of like I don't know. I like to pick Warwick jungle when there's an enemy Kassadin, or suggest it. And then I'll camp his ass. Anytime there's a team fight, bam, I hit him with the ult suppress and try to get a kill or chase him away from the fight, and hope my team is doing decent so they can hold their own 4v4. But that's pretty much the only strategy I found that's other than a bad Kassadin who can't win his lane.
Sure,
that's the only strategy I found. So I'd rather just ban him and leave it open for anything else instead of having to play to counter that pick.
Right.
Isn't like a really good counter to Kassadin Scion just because of the way his early game plays out comparatively? But you don't that doesn't mean you want to pick Scion because then you're stuck with Scion for the rest of the game and he's a mess.
That's one of those, if you're not getting a kill pre-6 with Scion into Kassadin, it probably isn't worth it.
Yeah, I mean, like you're picking him just to try to shut down Kassadin as quickly as possible, but if you don't do it,
yeah, we're back to that point. So it's just easier to ban him. I see, Adam, I get your strategy for it, your idea for it. People, he's banned so often, he's never in a game, so people don't remember how to play him well. They also don't remember how to play against him.
Right.
Yep.
So
I'm not advocating to not ban Kassadin. It was just something to toss out there that maybe in low elo it might not be worth it, but it probably still is. Even at 15% chance is probably still 50% chance a player on either team can play it is probably still too high.
If you know how to deal with him and your team knows how to deal with him and he's not banned, the enemy team might go, oh, Kassadin's available, grab him, whether they know how to play him well or not, and then you can use that to your advantage. But chances are,
I mean, the flip side is then you get stuck into a game of Kassadin Chicken, where let's say everybody on your team comes clean about not knowing how to play Kassadin. You're on blue side and you're down to your last ban. Kassadin's still on the board. What do you do?
Right. Well, we see Cassidy. Well, let's talk about more of the picks and bans in the ranked 5 sense. This is something that my ranked 5 team has been really working on recently and trying to best understand we had to figure out what the strength of our team was and what we needed out of each lane, and then we could start figuring out how to ban. So if you're playing ranked 5s, I hate to say it, but kind of like a short list of what people can play. I know Dom's really against making lists of what people can play and trying to figure out from there, but for us it worked because I said, I looked at my strengths.
No, I'm really for that.
I thought you were the one against that.
No, we got into a huge thing where I was like, you need to sit down with with Freakin' especially because you just didn't know what he played at all. Like, you need to sit down with your guys and figure out what they play so you have a sense for how things go.
Well, yeah, we eventually...
if you're trying to make comps on the fly with a group of people and you just don't know who everybody plays, you're gonna run into trouble.
Right. Well, what happened here was you're correct, and that's exactly what happened. We figured out what our mid can play, what our bot can play, jungle can play, and top. And then we also looked at how those players play the game. Like, I'm a very aggressive top laner. I need to win my lane. In my head, I'm aggressive. No matter what character I'm going to play, I'm going to be aggressive. So I need to stop playing people like Mundo. I need to stop playing people like Nasus who can't be aggressive early but can be aggressive later. I have to be early aggressive, mid lane, early and mid aggressive. So while looking at that, we went to take that into picks and bans, and we said, all right, we're first pick. What do we want to ban? We want to try to leave open one of the OP supports and either force them to ban the other two, at least one other one, or force them to pick one that works well into us. So we would ban Annie first, and then LeBlanc, and then whatever else is open, either be Cassidon or Ziggs or Yasuo. And at that point, Annie, more than likely Thresh is going to get banned by the enemy team, and if it's not, it's going to get picked. That gives us Leona first pick. So Leona is going to beat Thresh at level 6, and she does okay in lane until that point. So we've already baited them, and we know what they're going to pick because Thresh is open, Annie's banned. What other champions are going to pick as support besides maybe Morgana? So, we're trying to bait the enemy team into picking what we want them to pick early so we can counter it within our first couple picks.
For the most important lane in the game.
Correct, bottom lane.
Bot lane, right. That makes sense.
So I hope I wasn't too convoluted when I tried to say that. I was trying to piece my thoughts together, I was saying. But you're trying to force your enemy into picking something, and you're trying to force your enemy to pick a lane or pick a champion that is, one, considered overpowered, and two, that you know how to counter. And usually that's Thresh and Leona because support is a fairly safe first pick. And when you're doing it,
it's annoying.
Yeah.
And the other reason I say it's annoying is because it's at the end of the day, it's just not fun to be stuck playing the same, a really small group of champions just because of the way, I don't want to say the way the meta is, but because they're safe early picks. You're not playing your team's hand. You're not really extending any type of risk for your team, but there's value in your position, having that type of flexibility, durability, pick the word you want. It's I'll be the first to agree with anybody. It's really not fun to always play the same group of champions. Sure. But
I agree with
when
that.
when you're in a team scenario, it's not just about you. You have to consider your own enjoyment, but it's also about the team winning and everything. And sometimes that means you have to bite the bullet and pick the champion that fits the meta or it addresses the team's needs. Whatever it is, and that's that's just part of the deal. It's part of the way the game is. You can't always try to just use a really ridiculous, unconventional thing just to say you did it.
Well, now, you were mentioning your strategy for that, though, trying to guide the enemy to pick what you want to pick into your comp there. Do you play into an overall team strategy with your picks and bans?
Absolutely.
I want to do a split push team, so we want them to pick this, or we want to ban this. And
when we start doing
how do you
that,
work
and
that?
what we're again, this is the first week that we've really sat down and tried to make champion select work for us, because a lot of our games are lost early, and it's lost at champ select. A lot of our games are lost at champ select, and then it goes into losing early because of that. So if we're trying to bait them into some kind of pick, of course they can always not pick Thresh, and they can pick Morgana, and at that point you just don't really deal with bottom lane, or you go with the person who doesn't have Black Shield on them. There's always choices to be made when that happens. Well, that's where the ambiguous picks come into play. Now, we first picked our champion. They've picked 2. Now we're on 2 and 3. For example, I'd like to play Olaf top after Chira has touted him so much. I think I went 3 and 1 on him yesterday, and I got first blood, at level 2 every game type of thing. So that champion works really well in the top lane, and he works really well in the jungle. So second pick, you can do your AD carry and you can do your jungler and your top, or you can do. Well, usually you want to do like the ambiguous Olaf and then your AD carry because they don't know where Olaf's going to go, and now they're going to try to pick the counter that jungle, and again you get to counter pick what they're picking, so you're baiting them with ambiguous picks.
Yeah, I mean the pick counter pick thing is, in my opinion, it's least relevant in bottom lane just because the addition of, the second person on either side throws so many additional variables into the way counter picks and that type of thing work that I don't put a lot of weight into it. Like you can understand that you're going to have a rough laning phase and you just accommodate for that during the laning phase and you turn around and shine, mid and late game like you're supposed to. But it's way more important for top and mid.
Well,
and even for jungle.
You were saying support is a safe first pick because you don't have to counterpick the other support if you did your bans properly. What if the enemy team got one over on you on the bans? Is it still safe? Would you say always pick support first and then move on to the jungle and then the solo lanes?
That I guess to me that depends. Like, is there a high priority jungle pick that you want? Like if Vi is on the board and you really want her, and you really want Vi,
based on the high priority picks, and then go from there.
I mean, then it really does depend on your team, or if Ziggs is a champion that you really want, or Gragas. These are typically really contested picks, so you have to sort of assign value to the specific champions that you are wanting to play. Support might be a safe pick due the nature of counter picking lower in the bot lane, but that doesn't mean it makes Leona a higher priority pick than Vi or Gragas just for your team specifically.
Well, bot lane can be countered with.
It can. No, it can. It can. I think it's a lot harder too.
No, I agree with that.
There are more people down there.
Where I was going to go with this was we played a team yesterday, for example, and we won at Champion Select based on picks and bans because of how they were picking, but they showed their hand too early, and you can't do that. They showed Nidalee mid, and then I think they showed Tristana, Soraka, Lee Sin, Teemo. That was their team comp. Not a great team comp by any means, but by showing your mid and bot hand already, we know how to counter those three lanes no matter what jungler they pick by picking a early game dominant jungler like Elise or Vi, and somebody who can go bottom laning. And bottom lane also said when that happened, we're just going to continually push them into their tower and force Tristana the last hit under the tower, which she does and we're just going to ward up heavily, and jungler just needs to be, bot and mid all game. And at that point, you've successfully countered bottom lane strategy of allowing Tristana to push into you when you've said, I'm going to push back.
And just to quick clarify, for those that don't know, Tristana has a hard time last hitting under the tower because one of her abilities deals AoE damage when she kills a unit, and that starts to screw up the way tower hits interact with everything, so it ends up being really difficult with her.
Right. So when you're playing,
a lot of people don't know that.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
It need to be said. So when you're playing against Tristana, a very good strategy for her is to get level 2 first and push her into tower and keep her there. But when you do that, the jungler has to be aware that he or she needs to be bot, and you need to keep everything warded behind you, especially.
The second your wards die, you gotta ease off the gas.
Right.
And I actually like the fact that you brought up having the jungler aware that he needs to stay bot, because that's a really nice way to be able to turn around and counter gank and get free kills.
Yeah, the jungler should be aware of what the enemy team can do. That's how you get to higher elo. That's how you get to platinum and diamond. You're aware of what your enemy can do. People have wrote us, how do I play this champion? I don't know how to do this at this certain level. And it comes down to, if you main Renekton, for example, all the time, you know every matchup. I can beat a Teemo as Renekton, but it's based on baiting out blinding darts on the Teemo. If I can bait a blinding dart out, walk back, and then suddenly dive in with Slice, Q, W, stun him, hit him a couple times, and dice back out, I've won that trade.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one thing you learn as you play the champion. And that's what comes a lot of these champions with counter picks and bans. We talk about Kassadin. When you learn how to play against a Kassadin, you learn how to shut him down early, you could probably get that level 3 or 4 kill. He's not as big as a threat, but he's still, he still should be removed. But that's how you play against a Kassadin. You understand how to kill him early.
Right.
So
the champ pick that, a lot of times maybe you have an unpopular champ pick, like Cassiopeia. Maybe she has a certain champion that she's really good against that's just pounding other lane opponents, as long as you know how to play her.
Right. I mean, and that's all well and good that you have that type of champion in your pocket, but the reality there is that she's not a high priority pick. So odds are good that you can just wait on Cassie. Now, obviously, if you're in solo queue, it's
You don't priority pick that.
no, it's not even that. Like in solo queue, there is some risk involved just because not every player on your team is going to have all champions. So you know the swap, like doing swap stuff ends up being like I hate it. I hate it when somebody wants me to pick a champion for them and then they don't have the support I want to play because it's like you're killing me. So now I'm stuck playing.
Or someone else in the middle says, "Oh, okay, you pick the support, so mid's still open," even though you're saying you're going to swap the mid at the end, and then they pick a mid second pick, and
I hate
they just
that.
yanked it out from under you.
Yeah, I mean you got to make sure you're clearing
That's
that up
solo queue,
ahead of
though.
time. But and frankly, I wish they gave a little bit more time to sort that stuff out. But I don't think it would actually really help anything. Like that's just a pipe dream of mine.
Well, unless anybody else has anything to add to this discussion, I think it's a great intro to champion picks and counter picks. And I think this opens up for more people to email us because we're always looking for feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. Let us know your strategy for picking and counter picking because I'd like to touch on this in a couple episodes from now. And I think hearing your guys' strategies from different ELOs. And when you write in, if you don't mind in your email letting us know what ELO you were at, because that does give us a sense of how to respond to your question, because it might be different for a bronze 5 than it is for a gold 1 to respond to the email. And I know I found it very helpful when I'm responding to a lot of your listener questions, being able to see your masteries. So, ELO or even summoner name, that helps quite a bit. We're here to help you. No one's judging you because you're bronze 4. We're trying to make you guys better. So, with that said, do we need to talk about any of these LCS stuff or leave it for the other guys?
Well, they don't ever talk about champion picks, so it's either we talk about it here or it doesn't happen. And I don't care, but I'm just saying they don't talk about champs.
I'm going to leave it until we get some other ones.
They could.
The
Give
only
them as
one
much
that I
meat
saw,
as possible.
The only one I saw was top lane Lulu, and that was once. And that doesn't really do anything to me because we saw a top lane LeBlanc as well, a couple episodes back.
You don't think it's interesting that Wicked decided to break out Aurelia? And they won.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. I think Aurelia is all right. I think people just build her stupid and rush Trinity Force like they used to, and you can't do that anymore.
Actually, truthfully, it's the resurgence, I think is a strong word, but she did get played twice this week of Ahri, both times against Gragas.
I'm so happy to see Ahri finally played. I don't think
And
she's
played
as weak
well,
as people think.
too.
Yeah,
I don't think she's that weak either.
Fnatic lost, but Coast did win against TSM, and they're not.
Yeah,
that's not
I saw that
logical.
game.
We did talk about that on the LCS podcast this week. So if you guys want to hear that breakdown of the TSM Coast game, go listen to the LCS podcast. That's gonna be one. So let's move into some general listener questions.
Actually, I want to back up to the LCS champs because I've been wondering for a while why Aatrox is really not getting a lot of attention. It seems like he just kind of got forgotten about after Season 3 ended. Yeah, after Worlds, and like I can't really figure out a good reason why that.
He didn't get played at Worlds, did he?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, he probably got played at some point, but he didn't get heavy play or anything. He didn't wow anybody. But I was just like, why did people suddenly forget about this champion? To me, with the way, like with the emphasis that gets put on sustain, it sort of seems like he fits that meta pretty well to me. But I'm not a top laner, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
I don't have Aatrox, so I don't know what to tell you.
You son of a bitch!
It is hard for me to say because Aatrox has never fit into my play style, and I still think he made a better jungler than he did a top laner at any point because he doesn't as hard carry as like Jax does.
Sure,
but he can keep Jax down. Like he's a good person to pick into somebody like Tryndamere or Jax. Harder to pick into somebody like Shyvana because he can sustain, but Shyvana's going to get tankier and be able to dive better than he is going to do because you have to build a little bit of. He's kind of like Renekton in that you have to build a little bit of damage now to just keep up. And he can work because of that passive that allows him to gain extra life while in lane or below 50%. It's just having that having to build damage early takes away from your mid game, and that's why. But Renekton has passive stats because he's building defensively, while Aatrox to do damage has to build offensively in the masteries. Does that make sense?
I've been actually itching
to
pick him up, and that's
there, but I think somebody will figure it out.
I think what you said is mainly the reason that I agree with you. I think an innately tankier top lane is a better pick for the mid game. you have to build him damage, and that's how you survive too. You build him damage, and then you're sustaining better or more attack speed, so that you're building up you're hitting more for lifesteal on your what is it W?
Yep.
Yep.
Whenever it procs. So I think he's neat. I like his kit, and I'm interested to try him out. So I'm going to play him a little bit more and just feel out where he is. But I agree that in speculation, he's not as tanky as some. There are better picks for that mid-game tankiness.
I actually like what you brought up with the Jax pick, though, because when Jax hits 6, it gets much easier, especially if he bullies you out in the lane, to dive you at the turret and kill you. And you can't really do that when you're playing Jax into an Aatrox, because you're going to dive them at the turret, and then his passive's going to save him.
And then he's going to jump back on you.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the nice thing about that is, too, it's another reason why I like the idea of Aatrox. Again, I don't have him. But if you die and you still have your Q up, you can get away. So it's a little more forgiving. The way I've seen it in lane with him when I've played against him, even back last season, was that if he got if he got ahead of you, he would really make you pay for being ahead of you, and he could just completely zone you, no problem. And even if you try to do any damage, once he gets, at least until the mid game, once he gets that 1 damage item to sustain, he'll sit on the other side of the minions, and it doesn't matter if they're attacking you, if you're playing him or not. He gets like 2 swings off, and he's back to full health anyway.
Right.
And then if he gets ganked, whatever, he's just going to dip out. If he dies, whatever, he has the GA, and then he dips out. I don't know. So, I'm kind of with Dom. I don't know why he's not being played. I still think he'd be pretty strong.
So now I'm just curious, because you, the two of you have been touting him for a while. How do you like Aatrox against Olaf? I mean, I think the consensus is going to be that in general you like Olaf as a champion more. But how about that specific?
Olaf is going to kick the shit
trade
out of
better.
Aatrox. That was my impression of that, but I wanted to sort of make sure I had the right.
You know why it is?
You know what?
It's because Reckless Swing does not draw minion aggro, so you get free harass every time you. That's a little known fact about Olaf.
I didn't know that.
That's the thing about most abilities you cast. As long as they're like not next on hit, like auto attack kind of thing, they don't draw aggro
if it's not an auto attack modifier.
Yep. Yeah, but the damage it does to you is almost like a few minion hits anyway, so. It is
pretty negligible. The amount of damage
right now, it's negligible, and with the Doran shield and the passive, just life regen from the defensive tree, I would say that the health lost from his Reckless Swing doesn't even matter anymore.
I never noticed it last night.
I played more Olaf than anybody else.
And even if you do, you get more powerful when you lose life.
Yeah,
I think I had somebody go. I was 50%, and the dude was at 75. I Reckless Swing him to 50 or 60%, and took him down because I was half life and able to get 2 auto attacks in for every 1 that he did.
And this is the other thing. I actually like kind of pushing it to the limit and getting low health as long as I know where their jungler is at and getting the kill on them, because that means I can just rip the tower to pieces.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's one of the best strategies on Olaf is let yourself take minion damage and let yourself get low before you take the tower. You're gambling, but yeah, Olaf is funny in the top lane because I think he's kind of like
Olaf
Renekton.
mechanics.
Yeah,
Olaf mechanics. Yeah,
I think he's funny, but like he's like Renekton, where he doesn't really have a bad matchup. He's going because of Reckless Swing.
He's just solid like that. I wouldn't say he's like.
Well, he beats Renekton too.
He can definitely. I would say the only time he has a problem with Renekton is right when Renekton hits 6. Other than that, he'll be fine.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
The entire game. But which is funny because Renekton is so brutal against most top laners.
Bring any Olaf on. I'll take him as Pantheon. I don't care. Never had a problem with Olaf top lane.
Just Reckless Swing you for days. No problem. Let's go.
No, you won't get... I'll do the ducking back and forth with Pantheon superior movement speed early and then just keep
superior movement speed. This motherfucker bringing this out.
Hell yeah.
Right, fine. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to max Q and just...
Yeah, I want to see the 1v1 between the two of you here.
Mine will automatically hit you every time.
We've got the Olaf master. We've got the Pantheon master. We got to see
I know. We need to see the Chira Pantheon master. Chira, make sure you run health regen quids to say fuck you.
Oh, that's so fucked, though.
That's so dirty.
Go for it. Do the health regen quints. I don't care. Once I hit level 5 and get my rank 2 or 3 spear,
please.
Not going to matter.
Please.
I'll harass you down enough, and then you'll harass yourself down, and then all of a sudden you'll be stunned and dead.
By the way, guys, we are working on getting subscription. We need to get 500 concurrent viewers on the Twitch channel. So, guys, we go live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We are nearing 50 viewers, so we're up higher than we were before. But I want to get to 500 so we can do subscription. If we get there, I'm going to actually give shout-outs to people who start donating and people who start, helping the stream out a little bit. So, guys, there's a little incentive for you because I want to make like a sweet like Sejuani icon for the stream.
That'd be awesome.
With holding a Triforce up in her hand or something. Yeah. No.
Oh my god.
How do you even hold a Triforce?
I don't even know. It's like a badge.
I guess.
Should she ride a Triforce? That would be even better.
She'll hold 2 swords and then 1 in her mouth. There you go.
2 swords. All right, let's get into some general listener questions.
I'm picturing that in my head.
Yeah, I think we all are.
We going to start with Zach?
Yes, I am going to start with Zach with a K. If Sean does not click. When playing ADC, I find the hardest is not so much the positioning, but being able to put out damage while chasing down another player, moving and still auto-attacking to make sure I don't get caught out by the other team. Are there any tips that allow you to keep attacking, or do I just need to get better at right-clicking the target I want to attack and right-clicking to move after? It just sounds funny. Do I got to get better at right-clicking?
You know what? I like
precise.
This question because I'm terrible at playing marksman, so I'd like to hear your take on it.
It's positioning to do this. It's all about positioning. It's all about being in front of the champion and understanding. It's math, really, because what's the shortest distance between 2 points? It's an angle, And when you're running at somebody running along bottom lane, they're running along the bushes of bottom lane, you need to be running at an angle toward them to get the correct auto attacks off. Orb walking comes into big play. Understanding attack speed comes into big play. And that's how orb walking is. You understand that you attack 1 time every second, so you attack, wait 1 second, attack.
Yeah, was that something you just innately kind of muscle memory learn as you're getting more attack speed items?
For me now.
By farming, you kind of get a feel for your attack speed at that time, and then boom, you orb walk with that?
Correct.
It's definitely a case where the last thing you want to do is just try to stand in one spot and fight. Like, even if you're in a duel with another marksman, don't just stand in one spot.
I would even say that whenever you're playing marksman and you're shooting at a stationary objective like Baron or Dragon, you should be moving and practicing the same thing anyway, just to get it, like, it should just be a reactionary thing on your part.
Right. Well, that's why you see all the LCS guys do that a lot. They'll
can you get into a pattern with it then to where you're predictable for skill shots?
I'm sure you
like
can.
Boom, 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 you're moving, so you know, or you can do that and then trick people out by just stopping for a second. And
well, that's the funniest thing. Crepo had said a long time ago that you get so used to people moving in Diamond that when they don't move, it fucks you up. And I'm at that point.
Oh, that happens to me. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like, I expect them to move, and so I send a skill shot flying, and then I miss because they chose not to.
Yeah.
They stop. Yep.
I scream about it all the time. I'm like, quit being unpredictable!
See, I just make fun of him. I'm like, well, apparently I can't hit skill shots anymore because he just decided not to move and I missed him.
Right. Yeah, use the A button, though. That's a big thing. It's right-click, A, attack, right-click, A, attack, right-click, A, attack. It's A, click, A, click, A, click.
I actually kind of think it's funny that DeClaude brought up does it make the casting thing more predictable? Because half the time when I'm playing AD carry, I'll just like throw something out every once in a while just to keep them on their toes. And that's like the stupidest thing to do because I run out of mana really fast. But
you run out of mana.
You get into a rhythm.
I love it. I love just doing something. They're like, what the fuck? And then they're kind of thrown off. But
you kind of play AD carry much like you play top lane.
I know.
You play
I
it like a top lane.
Don't cheer and I both.
Yeah.
No, you're not nearly the same. Like you're really aggressive, and you kind of actually I like it because you take the goal of I want to just push this tower on and then go and do other things because I think you're bored or something.
Yeah, I get bored in lane. I don't want to sit there and farm.
You don't just throw your spells out for the hell of it. And Shira, like I've just seen times where like I'm doing this, I'm bored, I'm gonna cast a spell now.
Why is something happening?
I don't have the patience.
There's not video on me, but I always do like, okay, he did that.
All right.
Time to start redoing all my calculations because that's on cooldown and he's got less mana. Okay, I won't engage.
God damn it, DeClaude.
What?
Nightbot is a boss on Zelda. He doesn't like Link.
They asked me to make a pun. That's all I could think of while listening to the conversation.
God damn it, DeClaude.
Sorry.
Hey, that's what we keep him around for.
No, he interacts with listeners, something I can't do. So at least he's good for something.
Multitask.
Yeah. All right, Zach, I hope that answers your question. Black Magic 77 writes in, I heard there was a nerf or tweak for Doran's shield. I know it's not out yet, but it surprised me since it seems.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
We've talked about this one. 2 episodes ago. Sorry, Black Magic. We talked about the tweaked Doran's shield on episode 136. I want to say.
Oh, I think he wanted specifically he wanted to know why they think why they are nerfing it. Like
we kind of touched on that same episode too, where it's if more than one lane is using it, and if it becomes a static item in a lane outside of like top lane, where they're bruisers, you have to start looking at the item.
Right, it's really a case where the item is having a negative effect on gameplay. Like, it's not a case where it's being bought too much or too little, because if that was a problem, then a Fiends would be totally looked at and nerfed or something, since every mid laner gets it. It's a case where the item is creating significant problems in the lane, or in the game itself, and because of that, they have to address it. Like, right now, Doran's Shield is just hampering the effective pool of viable supports, right. I mean, outside of Leona, Thresh, and Annie, like, it's just problematic because the other supports can't deal the damage they need to fit that poke roll, or they can't soak up the damage they need to be tanks but it's because of that one item. Like, Doran's Shield is, I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, and it might be the case, but my gut right now is that Doran's Shield is the reason that Leona is so strong right now. It's not that she was ever a bad champion, but because you cannot, keep Leona at bay anymore.
Well, it makes Leona a must-picker ban champion, while when you nerf it, she still is a very good champion, but she doesn't become must-picker ban status anymore.
I mean,
she's more harassable if you nerf it. Because the nerfing...
Yeah, I mean, that was always how you beat Leona, was just, was harassing her down. Yeah, you just kept her down to a point where she couldn't engage on you without serious risk. And because of all the regen on Doran's Shield, Leona's out of control. And she's got a 42.1% pick rate and a 52% win rate right now. No champion that's appearing in almost half of the games should be above 50%. That's insane.
Right.
She should really be closer to 48 if she's getting picked that much.
That makes sense.
What's Thresh's picker ban rate?
45% and 51.
So again, it's more likely Doran's Shield. What's Annie's, out of curiosity, since we're doing top 3?
The next post?
19.63 and a 48% win rate. So
what's her ban rate?
1.3.
Can't be that high.
Thresh and Leona both get banned more often than
I was about to say, I see more Thresh and Leona than I do Annie nowadays.
That's crazy.
The top bans are Kassadin, Yasuo, Elise, Kha'Zix, Vi, Gragas.
It's funny that Yasuo gets banned. Like, in solo queue, I don't feel like he's worth a ban in solo queue, but in ranked 5s, he's more ban-worthy than anyone else.
Build a team around. Even if you just have that Aatrox we were talking about banned, now you can pick Yasuo.
The most popular pick with a Yasuo right now is Wukong.
Yep.
Wukong jungle is so good.
It's a beautiful pick for Yasuo. Juicy.
Wukong, he's actually close to 20% pick right now, which is insane.
That's a huge bump compared to what it used to be.
He has.
Thank you,
almost
LCS.
20%. He's at.
Does his win rate stay the same?
No, it's at 54.87. He's the second winningest champion in the game right now.
Really?
I mean, he's actually always been among the winningest champions. He
used to be really highly win rate.
Almost always in the top 10, and I think for a long time he was just in the top 5, and people just weren't picking him for whatever reason.
I think at
20% pick rate.
They even did the math, and among gold players, players in gold divisions 5 through 1, he had the highest win rate of any champion in that thing. He had a really low win rate in silver and bronze, which kind of surprises me, but I think it's mana management at that point.
I think it's all, but that's solo queue. So that's where the difference between solo queue and ranked 5s comes into play. I don't think a Wukong is going to win that hard in a ranked 5 scenario, because the team is there ready to back you up. And he's a big laner, but when you're playing the correct champions into him, he shouldn't be. But
I feel like his early game is the weakest part of it, and just the longer the game goes on, the crazier he gets.
He gets really good in the mid game if he gets one kill. One kill in that game.
I agree with that. The issue is getting that kill if you're using your abilities for anything in lane. And
I always supplemented it with just a little bit of extra mana regen, kind of like the old Season 3, bottom lane rune page. When I play Wukong, I supplement it.
Like the old AD carry with the extra mana.
Right. Yep. And I think that takes care of it, as long as you're maxing Q and using Q to harass as much as possible. W is what takes a lot of the mana.
W takes a ton of his mana.
Now, Dom, while you have those stats pulled up,
Okay.
I'm curious because I saw this more than a couple times during the weekend while the LCS was going on. Excuse me. In ranked solo queue, players saying, ban Pantheon, ban him, and people were banning him. I'm like, no, don't ban him. I want to play him. Or
he's
pick
actually
jungle
it's really
Pantheon.
high. Pantheon's
So-
at a 13.57% ban rate. But he's
Wow.
hovering right around
So much for
50%
being in the
pick
shadows
rate,
anymore.
So, yeah.
50%.
Actually, I want to go over win rates because the top 10, there are a few surprises in there. Fiddlesticks is the winningest champion in the game right now.
Okay.
Wukong, Amumu, Ziggs, Sivir, none of those should be surprising to anybody. Amumu's always up there. Draven, Kale are the next. Teemo is still
Doesn't
pretty...
surprise me.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Here's the big surprise. The two big surprises. Number 10 is Swain,
Okay.
and number 9 is Fiora.
What a bitch.
Now-
I think the
Just the
Fiora. I think the Fiora pick comes with like the Wukong pick, where you never see him, and
So you don't know what
then
to do.
you don't know how to play against him because you get parried, and you're like, "What? I just took magic damage."
3.72% pick rate, but she's sitting at like just shy of 53% win rate. I mean, that I don't know.
When
For a
she's
champion
uh,
picked
as
against
maligned
her,
as she are,
she wins.
yeah, that's true. I'm not disputing that, but like I don't know. To be in the top 10 for winning, that was pretty surprising to me.
Everybody go out and play Fiora now, please.
I used to be on the Fiora hype train. I think it was the end of
I
season
still
2.
am. I love Fiora.
I don't like her anymore. I just can't be.
I
on
think
that
she
hype
might be
train.
better in mid lane than she is top lane.
Oh,
What, like
absolutely.
a Riven?
Jungle is my
absolutely.
favorite spot for Fiora. She can fly through the jungle.
With the greatest of ease.
I
can.
am.
She's
On the
quick. She
trapeze.
flies through the jungle, but then she comes in. She comes
I
in the
can't-
gank. You need that red buff.
I can't say whether or not she's mid or top because her top summoners are Flash and Ignite.
You know what's funny about Swain? As long as you're getting a blue buff, and so a lot of people don't know this, but when you pop Zhonya's on Swain, you still gain life back. You know how
Yep.
overpowered that makes that fucking champion?
Gets free heals, and there's
Free
nothing you
heals
can do
for the
about
3
it.
seconds or 2 seconds that you're in Zhonya's. And it heals for quite a bit when you have some ability power.
Remember that time they ignited you and you just Zonia's and it didn't do anything and you
Right?
got healed? Because you're an asshole.
It took all the debuffs. So yeah, I can see Swain being up there because when you know how to play Swain,
If
You
you
win
have
your
a
life.
swing,
he gets picked even less than Fiora does.
if you have a swing on your team as a jungler, give him the blue. That's one of the champions. You give him the blue because he will bully and he will own. with
sounds
that
like
blue.
you're giving him the clap.
He'll make the blue work for him is
The blue.
the thing. It's its own thing now.
The blue. We're gonna
blue.
give,
The blue.
You're gonna
He's
give him
got
the
the
blue,
blue.
guys.
He's got a bad case of the blue.
He's got a bad case of the blue.
No,
Yeah, he
Sean's
needs it.
right. With what you just said, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually one of the few champions I would say that is almost a completely different champion after he has blue.
and 6.
You guys want
Yeah.
to hear a couple surprises on the loser side of things?
No,
Please make my day.
Okay, so to nobody's surprise, Urgot is the least winning champion in the game at a paltry 40.36% win rate.
Or Urgot.
Poor Dom.
Poor Dom. LeBlanc is the third least winning champion.
Really? I thought she
don't-
was a high one for some reason.
I would figure.
She's got a high ban rate, but yeah, she's 44.73. And then your guy's boy Olaf, 45.0.
That's because nobody's on the Olaf train right now.
No one is on the Olaf train.
No one's
and
on the Olaf.
Woo woo! I'm selling tickets, motherfucker. Let's go. I need to start passing them out.
All right, thanks, Monty.
By the way, did anybody play Olaf on Saturday when Ragnarok was supposed to happen?
No, I didn't.
And then use your ult, and Ragnarok did happen. So
All right, Rick
that's the
writes
only way it
in.
happened.
Moving on. What are your thoughts on playing duo ranked, and what champion combinations do you think are most interesting right now?
Karma plus anything.
Duo ranked, I don't think you should play duo ranked unless you are just trying to have fun with the game. I don't think it increases your odds of winning any more than playing solo queue. Unless you get like mid and jungle and mid and jungle are able to make something out of it.
I was about to say mid and jungle, and then you just camp the shit out of your mid lane.
Or
Right.
bot lane.
Right.
do a
I can see
bot.
bot lane working. With
And like
Kind
to
of.
that
I'd
end,
rather just
he-
have the
he-
jungler as my duo partner, like a lane and jungle.
I don't care who my duo partner is and everything, but to that end, like I don't even want to play the game, or like I don't want to play ranked solo queue without another person in there.
Sure.
And it's not because like I think my team is better or worse for it. It's just because like the game is less enjoyable when I'm playing by myself.
Well, I was about to say too, if you're playing support all the time and you don't synergize with your support at all, that can sometimes be, that they can be an extremely miserable experience. Like, I actually played AD carry with Andrew in a duo game the other day, and he was jungling, and I had a Leona who, after playing with good Leonas for like a really long time, playing with a bad one, I expect so much more out of people.
You notice it.
I expect so much more out of people, and this guy was just not good, and we couldn't make anything happen, and there's no reason we shouldn't have been able to make anything happen because all the pieces of the puzzle were there. It's just that actually I think frustrated me more than anything, and I actually played worse because of it. But
didn't they fix the pick for duo queuing? Now,
yes.
Like the pick orders, it's more random than always.
It is
first and
randomized.
last.
I haven't been last pick duoing with somebody since they fixed it. I've usually been third pick.
For me, it always felt like it was tied to MMR, like it didn't matter.
Well, they just changed it.
Okay.
So now it's supposed to randomize. Like whoever gets the first position, the person they're doing with gets what they should have, like the other pick that they actually should have gotten if they weren't just picked as.
So they could be the first two now.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Right. Okay.
I guess
Yeah.
now that I think about it, it was always like the highest MMR and then last pick.
Yeah, that's
I
how it
don't
used
like
to be.
duo queuing because of the way the picks were, but if it's fixed, I might try it again. You know, if you got a good friend and you can take the important positions, I say jungle and mid or jungle and ADC. One of you have to have jungle so you can influence the rest of the map.
That's actually the reason I like the jungle mid synergy more than anything, because you have one guy who, if his lane gets camped, he should be able to carry, and then the other guy should be able to influence everything else.
Right, exactly, and then you can just help your buddy's lane
roam together,
and
which
steamroll. Yeah. I'll try it again. I just didn't like getting picked last every time, or
that doesn't bother me at all because whatever. For the longest time, support was always last pick anyway in solo queues. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get the role I want. So
I think it's funny
Depends
that
on your
people
buddy, what they play.
fight over support picks now.
Nobody wants to play marksman.
I still haven't seen that much. But yeah, I have seen marksman being around the support area, but support still is the least desirable, I've noticed. At least in my tanked MMR.
I haven't noticed that at all. People are pretty happy to jump on Thresh or Leona for the most part as soon as they can get either of them.
There is the anarchists are in our Twitch chat right now. They are trying to take Nightbot down.
Take it down.
I'm waiting for the anarchy spam.
Can you rename Helix Fossil?
No, I can't. But he's over there banning people left and right because I thought he set up for like a channel that has like 600 people, not 50.
So he's banning the crap out of our.
So he's just going nuts.
All right, can you put a shackle on him or something?
I will fix it for next week. All right, let's do. I'm so done. Let's do one last question. How do you guys deal with hitting? I'm saving this one. This one's going Wednesday because I think this is a very long discussion about the skill progression and how to deal with it.
Okay.
Uther1 writes, I'm a relatively new player and I'm concerned that if you pick a role so early that my other mechanics will suffer. Should I start now or should I wait for a while before I pick my main position? What are some resources you use to get you better in the jungle?
First part of that question, I agree with the concern. You don't want to just say, I'm going to be this role, period. Let me work on this 100%. Work on your mechanics. Work on your basic mechanics first.
I'm a terrible everything else in this game because I main support at this point. Like it's comedic to watch me try to do other roles. So yeah, your mechanical skill is going to suffer if you dedicate yourself to one role.
If you play support or jungle, don't expect to ever lane. If you want to see somebody who can't lane, go watch the best Yeti try to play anything but jungle. That dude can't do anything.
And I would say it's people who've jungled since they figured out that they can jungle. They typically have a big problem last hitting. Same with support players who haven't played anything else, and they get steamrolled in lane because of it because they don't know how to make trades work while still last hitting.
Yeah, there's a new art. There's a different art in laning than jungling as far as watching the friendly and enemy minion health bars and adjusting your trades / baits / last hitting accordingly. Where in the jungle, you just sit there and try to kill them as fast as you can.
Yeah, for me, it's a case where I know all the other things that I should be doing and I want to be doing, and it really stresses me out that I can't do them while I'm trying to last hit. What? What's he laughing at?
I made Adam lose it.
What did you do?
Look at this stream chat.
Is it your little your chat there?
Yeah.
I can't do this. I'm sorry, podcast. We won't come back to your question next week. I've lost it. Twitch chat is at Art Attic here right now.
Yeah,
There's a riot going on.
For the listeners who aren't watching the video portion of it, or you won't see this on the YouTube version either because it's Twitch chat. He has a bot in there moderating, a night bot, and he's just booting the crap out of people for random things, links, caps, whatever it might be. And everyone's up in arms. Anarchy! Bring down Nightbot.
People are raising their pitchforks. It's really interesting.
They are. They got the torches and pitchforks, and they're running him out of the castle. So that's what Adam here can't contain himself about, and that's why we're ending it a little early.
I can't do it.
So now you understand.
I'm sorry, listeners to the MP3. I just can't do it. Okay.
Okay. And he's
Anyway.
gone.
I'm okay. I'm here.
He's all right.
He's not even going to be able to close us out.
Everybody's copying
And then fucking.
I ruined everything.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening to the Trinity Force podcast. That was episode 138. I'm your host, Adam Bonophobia. Fuck it. We'll see you next
See
week.
you in a few days. Bye.
Night.